Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Hi, everyone. So, good evening and welcome to this Summer Lensathon workshop. This is Avraj Singh from Hack to Skill. And today we're going to be hosting a wonderful workshop on Snap AR and how you can create awesome lenses. So, let me just walk you through what the entire Lensathon is all about and what we have in store for you, basically. So, this hackathon or India Summer Lensathon (ISL) is basically an initiative from Snapchat and Hack2Skill to bring together a community of developers, creators, and people who want to basically express themselves and showcase their potential and creativity to the entire world. That's what this is about. And for this particular hackathon, we have a grand pool of 10.5 lakhs, which will be distributed among various winners. And along with that, we have a lot of exciting goodies and a lot of other rewards and benefits as well. So let me just walk you through the website real quick. I'm sharing the screen. Okay, so guys, here we have the India Summer Lensathon, and as I just mentioned, that the prize money would be 10.5 lakhs. The technologies we'll be focusing on is augmented reality, AI/ML, and obviously we'll be working on the Snap Lens Studio. So the submission date would be closing by 30th of April. So make sure you submit your lenses on time. And yes, remember, this is very important. Quantity is not very much important. It's about the quality. So prefer quality lenses over the number of lenses that you submit. But of course, you are allowed and more than welcome to submit as many lenses as you want. So yeah, this is the prize money we're talking about. It's going to be divided among various winners: gold, first place, second place, up to fifth places, and so on up to 15th. The distribution is something like this. And then we're going to be having some campaigns and some leaderboards basically starting from 17th of March. So each week we'll be announcing certain winners, and so we'll be taking out the leaderboards and announcing certain winners, and they'll be awarded certain cash prizes, as mentioned, 1 lakh rupees, based on how much engagement their lenses generate. So that's another exciting part of this lensathon that is coming up. And then, yeah, the theme is basically to just bring forward your culture and basically just express yourself and whatever facet of life that you want to, food, music, dance, anything that you want to. And the lens creation process, obviously, you need to register and just download the Lens Studio, which our speaker would be walking you through right now, and how to basically create the lenses and work on this particular technology. We'll be organizing several boot camps as we are in right now, and then I'll walk you through some guidelines that is very important and needs to be kept in mind for submitting the lenses. So the lens size should be under 2 MBs, and no Lens Studio template should be used. So you have to create something of your own. So it should be entirely new and something of your own creativity. So this is the name that you need to tag your lens with, and the other important guidelines that you can just go through from this website. Yeah. So now I'll hand this conversation over to our speaker. We have Gauri Kumar, and she is one of our Lens network members. She is basically an expert in this particular domain, and she'll walk you through this particular workshop. So glad to have you over, Gauri, and over to you now.
Thanks, Abhiraj, and hello, everyone. I hope today's session is going to be really informative and useful for you guys to get started for the hackathon. I'll just share my screen first. I hope everyone's able to see my screen. So, hi everyone. My name is Gauri Kumar, and I've been a 3D and AR designer for quite a long time now, and been part of the Snap Lens network. The Snap Lens network is really great, especially the folks in India, because they really help each other out and sort of help you build your career and share a lot of information. So it's pretty great, and you should check out all of the other lens creators who are there from India. So today I'll be showing you how to build a AR lens, which is basically a lens game. I'm going to go through first the key points for developing a face lens. But first, to get started, I hope all of you have downloaded Lens Studio on your computers. Lens Studio is Snap's AR platform, and you can download it for free on the Snap AR website. All you need to do is click download over here, and you can select if you're on a Windows computer or a Mac and download that accordingly. After you download it, this is what Lens Studio should look like for you. Sorry, this is the project that I'm going to be showing you. So to get started, I'm going to show you exactly what are the key points to remember before building your lens for the hackathon. Firstly, in my opinion, you should keep your lens really simple. Don't make it too complicated. Oftentimes, you guys have ideas and you want to execute all of the ideas, but it can be really difficult to put in so many concepts together. I would suggest keep it simple. Make sure your concept is clean. If some of you don't have coding background, you can make your lens really strong with your visual effects and illustrations, or like any kind of motion graphics that you want to include within the lens. Definitely reduce clutter and make sure that you know what elements you absolutely need, and remove all unnecessary elements in your lens. So like, for example, today, if we're doing a game lens, what are the basics that I would need in a game? I need a score, I need the player, who is the player going to be, how is the game going to be played, think about all of those things, what are the objects that you'll require within the game, so on and so forth. So it would be really helpful if you create like a flow chart as to how you want your experience to look like, and then from there you can take it on. So then, like I explained, it would be good to have a project breakdown. So break it down into like experience, like, okay, so the user opens their mouth. If you have like a facial trigger, there are a lot of triggers within Lens Studio. So you can either have raised eyebrows or like you can have the user opens their mouth, or there are a lot of triggers available, which it would be really good for you to go into Lens Studio and sort of explore that as well. And then what is the kind of game that you want? There are so many games in which you can like catch items falling from above the screen, and then depending on how many the user catches and misses, you can add in the scores and like add in a point, etc. Next, what elements do you want to include within your project file? So do you want your project to be only 3D objects? Do you want it to be 2D objects? So accordingly, so for within 3D objects, these are some of the technical, like things that I would usually make sure that are checked off. Draco compression is something which is there within Lens Studio. I'll show that to you on the software itself. And I'll show you how to reduce the file size and optimize your lens so that when someone opens your lens, it does not take time to load and it runs smoothly. Next, if now that we're creating a lens, you can also, Lens Studio allows you to create a lens for 2 faces, like up to 2 faces. So you can, when you're creating for more than 1 face, what you can do is you can make sure that the render orders are proper. They're identical to the first person. You don't have unnecessary effects in there. So sometimes people like to add like beautification so that to make like people's skin look clear, and also you can add in some smoothing and like other LUT effects. So all of that you can apply. You can apply face images and animations to like 2D animations on users' faces. So you can do that for up to 2 people. So just make sure that whatever you're doing, everything is in its hierarchy and it's also like easy to understand. Next, this project that we're going to be doing today will also cover a little bit of physics. And physics is really fun to work with within Lens Studio. There are loads of templates available. You can easily go open Lens Studio, start with the basics of physics and see how that works. And, so just make your own projects and, from whatever ideas you've got. I'll also cover this when we're in Lens Studio, but basically physics objects you can classify them as tangible and intangible objects, and you can also make them dynamic or static. So dynamic objects would obviously respond to like natural physics. So they fall to the ground, or like you can add wind in some complex lenses and they can move accordingly. So you can really play with physics within Lens Studio. And lastly, you've got the behavior script, which is the best. Behavior script sort of enables you to add all the triggers that you require to build a game or any kind of lens that you're looking at. So behavior script provides you with all the triggers. You've got all the face events, you've got physics events, you've got body triggers, you've got custom triggers, which you can use for if you know how to code really well. So these are all the things that are required. So these are some of the key points that I think you should remember whilst creating your lens. And then quickly, just to cover some of the items, softwares to use, you should obviously Lens Studio, and then some of the 3D softwares, there's Blender, there's Cinema 4D. Blender is a free resource, so if you really want to get started in 3D graphics, it would be best to download Blender. You don't have to pay for anything. You can just download Blender, and Cinema 4D is there. I use Cinema 4D because I started out on that. There's Unity, Maya. Then there is also other new software, Adobe is there, Photoshop, whatever you want to use within Adobe. Midjourney is a great platform as well. If you want to experiment with that, you can use generative images and include that in your project. ChatGPT is great if you want to ideate for, if you can't think of what, like if you're stuck in a rut where you don't know what lens you want to make, you can always ask ChatGPT to give you ideas. Envato is a resource where you can get, um, I think it requires a subscription, but you can get your free music, you can get audio, images, illustrations, etc. And Drawkit is also a good website where you can get 2D images, sorry, illustrations. I can just open some of these websites for you. So if you can see Drawkit, it's really cool because you've got illustrations and you can get some resources here. I do suggest that it would be good for the Lensathon for you to make your own illustrations, given that the theme is also specific. But if at all any of these elements are helpful for your project, or if you, it'll be a good starting point for you, and you can download these. So these are some good resources. Obviously, if you want to animate some of these illustrations which are specific to your project, you can, if you know how to animate and if you know how to use animation tools, please go ahead and do that. Lens Studio allows you to add in GIFs and add in like sequenced images. So definitely you can leverage that advantage. So then 3D assets, some good platforms where you can get 3D assets if you don't know how to, create 3D graphics, or if you want to customize your own like download something from here and customize. You can obviously go to Envato, you can go to TurboSquid. TurboSquid is pretty great. So I was looking for cricket balls today. If you guys don't know how to make 3D, then you can obviously download some assets. Some of them are for free, so you can filter it out over here. And some are not free, so you can pretty much get anything that you're looking for. So if I type in something related to cricket, I'll either get the bugs or cricket sports. So it's pretty great. And you can always check what are the free resources available. You should not automatically start purchasing 3D assets, in my opinion. You should just get the free resources. Another resource which is great is Sketchfab. Sketchfab also has tons of 3D assets, a lot of animated graphics as well in 3D. Sorry, it's taking time to load. No, I'm not sure why it's not. Yeah, so Sketchfab is great, and you can always see what kind of 3D assets you need. So you've got these, and then you can go in, and then you'll have to create an account and then just sort of download the free 3D models. Obviously, you should always customize your 3D assets, make them more personal to yourself and like your project. Make it more cohesive so that everything in your project ties together. And some other resources, obviously the Snap documentation website. You can make a note of this link. It's called docs.snap.com. Over here, you've got all the resources required for Lens Studio, Camera Kit, Snap Kit. And you can go in here and basically just look at all of the resources that you need. It has loads of templates. Next, you've got Lenslist. If you need some inspiration, please go to Lenslist. It has all the inspo and everything about creator profiles, about what kind of lenses there are across different platforms. So you can definitely get loads of inspiration from here. Um, and then my favorite website amongst all of these resources is 3D Textures. So I like creating a lot of materials and shaders within Lens Studio. And 3D Textures is a free website where I can basically just download different maps and make my textures more like realistic. And so if I've got like a nature scene happening, I can download, like grass or whatever. Like, look over here, there's so many options. There's even option for dirt. So literally you can download all the maps. It gives you the normal maps and diffuse everything, and you can just create your own textures from here. This is a free resource, so I think these are great resources for anyone getting started out in 3D and Lens Studio. You don't need to purchase anything. There are tons of resources available online which you can just use for free. Okay, and then just one more video that's it's called Pexels. Basically, these are stock photos and videos. I tend to use download some videos from here for Lens Studio if I want to like set up a specific scene, or if I want to see how my lens looks in a street setting. So then I'll download this and add it in my Lens Studio preview panel. I'll show you how to do this as well. So we can get started. Firstly, I hope everyone has opened Lens Studio. Today, I'll be showing you how to basically bounce a ball over a user's head using a little bit of physics and a little bit of, like scripting as well. For the script that I've created over here for this particular project, it should be available to you in the resources section later on. So if you want to refer to it, please go ahead. So this is what your Lens Studio should look like. These are all the templates that are available. And you can categorize them according to if your project is specific to any one of these. And you can also do like complex to simple templates and just experiment and see how, like, what you want to create. You've also got a learn section where there are loads of videos and guides that you can click on and then just sort of, view them if in case you're getting stuck anywhere. Okay, so I'm going to get started and I'm going to click new project over here. Once my project opens up, this is basically your blank canvas. You've got your objects panel on the left, along with the resources and scene configuration. You've got an inspector panel, which shows up all the properties of objects and things that you click on from the objects panel or the resources panel. It gives you all the information that you need. Then you've got the preview panel. Over here, you can decide if you want a person's preview or if you want, and you can choose if you want it for, you want to preview how it looks like on an iPhone, or if you want it for a Samsung, LG, whatever. Like, there's iPhone 14 Pro as well now. So you've also got options between choosing what kind of preview. You've got people who have got face triggers, like open your mouth and things like that. And so what I've done is, like how I showed you, I downloaded some videos from Pexels and I like to see how my lens looks on that. So I've got like customized videos. Sometimes it's good to have like a new preview video for yourself. And yeah, so now I'm going to, now to start with, we're going to go to our camera. There are two types of camera. There's a physical perspective camera, and then there's something called as an orthographic camera. within the orthographic camera, you can basically, these are images that will stay on the screen. So if you want to include like a logo or something, then you can include that over here. I'm going to include some screen text. So it's going to be, sorry. I'm going to add some screen text, which will either it's like mock logo, or you can have any information that you want over here. And I'll make sure that I position it say, now you have options over here where you can choose between full frame and safe render. Full frame is nice if you want to have like a full background. You can make sure safe render basically shows you bounds as to where it's the safe region where you can have your things in. So I'm going to move this up here. And you can choose different, you can choose the text color, and then you can also add your own custom font. You can import whatever font it is that you want. So over here, I'm going to write game lens for active scale. Next, I'm going to add a head binding. This basically head binding provides you with an outline. It shows you, it highlights the head over here. And you can add an occluder material, which basically occludes the mesh. Now, when you add multiple head bindings, that means you can add, depending on the index number, you can add up to 2 or maybe 3, depending on how many people you want the lens to be for. So over here today, I'm only going to do the lens for one face. So I'm going to make this 0 as well. And I'm going to, now, when you go to the asset library over here, you've got a lot of resources that Lens Studio is given. There is one Cricut hat resource, like a helmet, which is there. It's a 3D resource, which we're going to use in our project today. So I'm downloading that. And then the Cricut helmet, I drag it from the resources panel over here and drop it within the head binding. Now, what's happening, if you can see, is that the helmet is getting cut off by the face occluder. So what I'm going to do is delete the occluder because we don't need it, and hide this, and then go to the head binding and attach it to the center of the face. So then it appears as if like the hat is fitting the person perfectly. We can test it out on like different videos if you want to see. And we've got it on like, cool. So now we've got our 3D elements here. Now I want to change the textures of this 3D helmet because this is not the lens that, like, this is not the helmet that I want. So we've got over here all of these materials which are present. So I'm going to go to where the logo is, and I'll click logo, and I'll uncheck and see over here that this is the image that I want to change, that I don't want this logo to be here. So I'm going to click on the texture over here and click on plus sign and import the file. So I already downloaded some textures from before. So now if we want it for the England cricket team, this is the logo that they have, and it just immediately places it on the helmet. Now, if I want to remove these, now So now that the helmet is done, I can also modify the other textures that are available. So if I don't want it to be this blue, and if I wanted to have a more plasticky effect, whatever it is, you can go into these materials and change the effects that they have. So if I want to make this less shiny, the steel over here, so you can adjust it. You can reduce it, make it metallic, plastic looking, however you feel like. If you want to change the color to maybe something blue, we can do that as well. And you've got the color picker, so you can do it for accuracy. So this is a really good way to finesse your lens. You can add in cool 3D like material effects. You can even make this bit into an animated texture. So however you want to experiment. Now I'm going to start with the physics bit of this. Now we need for, I'm just going to open this preview. Now, as you can see over here, the ball is bouncing on the head. Now, we're going to use physics to basically make sure that this ball is a physics object which bounces up and down, and it collides with the helmet. So the helmet and the head here would be acting as the collider object. So what I'm going to do is in the other head binding, I'm going to add in a sphere. And over here, click on the plus sign. Sorry, before that, I'm going to make this 2, increase the size, drag it up so that when the ball collides, it collides to this point over here. Add component and add a physics collider. Now, in physics, you've got physics body, physics world, and physics collider. Since this is the collider object, we're going to click on that. And you can see that immediately the physics outline comes through over here, but it doesn't appear in your preview. And now what I'm going to do is uncheck the render mesh. So it's just the collider bit that's left. I'm going to rename this to helmet collider. Now, to create any sort of effects and any tweens or any animations from any scripts within Lens Studio, you need to have the behavior script. So what you need to do is click on the plus sign here and then search for behavior. It'll come under helper scripts. And if you want to explore, you should go down here and go to helper scripts. And these are basically the essential scripts that you're going to need. So I need the behavior script and I'm going to drag it up top. Now within behavior, you can see that there are all of these triggers. You've got face events, you've got to create triggers when the camera is awake. What happens if the user switches to a front or back camera, if you want to end an animation, object tracking, and even like 3D body tracking, all of that, and physics events as well. So all of this is there within within the behavior script. And then for the purposes of this project, I have already created some scripts from before and I'm going to drag them in. The tween manager is pretty simple. You can get that from here as well. So tween manager. Tween basically allows you to animate an object. This is an example. You can change the colors, you can increase or, like sort of make the alpha 0, 1. You can play around with color changes. So like tweens are great. You can move objects from point A to point B, rotate them, increase the size. So it's great to experiment with tweens as well. And a lot of times you don't have to animate objects on 3D. You can just do it from within Lens Studio. I've also created a game script. which we can go through. But I'll go through this. Okay. So basically, this script allows you over here, inputs are basically when you can drag and drop your objects that you have within your scene. Scene objects, then you've got float. So basically, I'll be sharing the script with you so you can go through it properly. I've got functions in this, and it explains how what it tells it tells Lens Studio that this is what I want. Basically, if I want, it tracks the head, and if the ball is falling on the head, then it tells it, it tracks the positioning and everything. And also you can control the velocity accordingly. Now we're going to need the cricket ball as well. So for that, I'm going to come here and drag and drop this. Anytime you want to import objects within your scene, depending on where you want to import them, you can either drag them, drop them within your objects panel, or right click and you can do create scene object or import object, click it, and then bring that in your project. You can also, you have the expand all option, and you have the collapse option as well. So now we've downloaded the ball, the cricket ball. I downloaded this 3D from before. And what I've basically done here is, I'll just show you separately. Lens Studio allows you to use FBX, GLTF files, OBJ files as for 3D file formats. So you can drag and drop your 3D object. I'll just uncheck this for now. And I want the size, it's not in the correct positioning, so I'm going to make the size 0.05. And now you can see it. Let's just, so this is where it imported, and I'm just going to move it up a little bit. Now, there's no material on this. So what I'm going to do is, there is a material option. So I'm going to search for it. So if you want to immediately search for items, you can click on that and then press shift on your keyboard, and then it'll highlight it within the resources panel. So if you want to find the mesh, you do the same thing. Go to the mesh, click shift, and click on the thing that you want to find. So I want to look for this particular material, and it just highlights it over here. Now, as you can see that we don't have white cricket balls. So I want to apply a texture on this. So I click base texture, and I want an image. So I'm going to import this image from my 3D assets. And I've got this 3D ball texture that I downloaded earlier. Now I'm going to, so now that it's imported, it maps perfectly on that. Now, as you can see that our lens file size has gone really high. So what I'm going to quickly do is go in the resources panel, click on my 3D object, the meshes, and I'll show you that these are the meshes that are available. And I'm going to go down here on your inspector panel and look at the compression type. I'm going to click on Draco compression. Now this Draco basically reduces the file size. It compresses your 3D object that's there. And now I'm going to increase the compression level to 10. And then next I'm going to the cylinder, which is this design, and also do the same. I'm going to run Draco compression on it. Done. So now we're at 5.6 and it's going to reduce to, oh, sorry, just a second. I think some of the images, yeah, okay. So you can also optimize the image resources, image textures that are there. So currently this texture is really high, so you can optimize it according to performance, size, etc. So now I'll check once. Draco 10. I think you can go up to 11. No, sorry, only 10 to like compress it. So it's fine. And so that's the size reduced. Ideally, you should make sure that your 3D objects, you compress them from within the 3D software and then import it. Next, we're going to, so now this is how we've basically imported the ball. And then I'm going to make it a physics object. So I'm going to go on the cricket ball. And unlike how we did the collider object earlier, we're going to do this slightly differently. I'm going to create a scene object and I'm going to then drag the cricket ball underneath this, which this will act as the parent. Then within this, I'm going to right click and create, oh, sorry, right click and create scene object. Once I click on this, I'm going to add a component and I'll search for physics and click on physics body. Now, we've got options on what kind of shapes you want. So there's box, capsule, cylinder, mesh, sphere. So since this ball is a circle, we're going to click with a sphere. And you can't see the bounds right now. So we're going to uncheck this. Instead of fit visual, we're going to make this slightly bigger. So if I click 20, it's still not visible. So obviously it's slightly bigger. So I'll write 100 and you can see the bounds of the physics appear. I'm going to make this slightly more. So I'm going to make it 101. And I'll just run you through all the components here within the physics software. So now, like I mentioned earlier, you can make these, and then sorry, before that, physics body, I'm gonna name this. And then now to apply the physics onto a body, to the ball, just drag the ball and place it, drop it under the physics component. So as you can see, the moment I did that, the ball just sort of fell down because we've got gravity present. So we've not got any collider activated over here right now. So immediately it falls. And if I were to instead bring this parent over here, it'll collide with the hat and fall. Can you see that? Now, in this physics body, you've got, I've explained the shapes. You can create like different kind of shapes. Obviously, there's like a physics template available on Lens Studio, so you can go through that. And then this is slightly more complex. I'm just going to explain to you the dynamic bit of it. So right now, when dynamic is checked, you can see the ball falling. I can increase the damping, which makes the ball slow down a little bit. If I increase the damping completely, you can see how slow the object gets. And I can decrease the angular damping as well. So the ball will fall slightly more straight and it won't rotate as much. And if I have this absolutely click, then it just goes the natural direction. It doesn't turn too much. And if I reduce the damping, the speed increases. So that's how physics works in this. And you can set masses. So this is a good way to get started within physics as well. Next, I'm going to, so we're just going to use the object that I imported earlier. And I'll just use this material. And what I'll also do is material 2. You can look over here. If you want to change this, if you want to give it a bit more texture, then if you want to make it highlight more, like you can increase, add metallic properties, increase, decrease the roughness. And you can also add rim highlights, which I really like doing. And so if you move this around, increase the exponent. So I'll do it a different color just so that you're able to see it right now. It gives like a highlight. So this is a cool way to, add in more visual depth in your projects. So we're gonna make this, say, give it blue. I don't know. I don't watch cricket, so I'm gonna make this whatever color I feel like. So now we've got a physics object. We've got the thing that falls down, and we've got the thing that it collides on. Now I've got the game script ready, which will be available to you. So within this game script, you have the object head binding, which is your head binding that we made before, and you've got the ball, which is this physics ball that's there. You've got then the ball offsets, and then the velocity, and then the colliders. Colliders is you've got this helmet collider that you've created over here. So all of these assets, once they're placed inside, will enable us to have this game ready for us. Now within the script, it may be like, I'm not sure how good everyone is with scripting, and obviously there are loads of people who don't know how to code and use Lens Studio, and they create kick-ass projects as well. So you don't need to be scared that, okay, this looks too complicated and you won't be able to do it. You should be able to do it. This will be available in the resources panel. So all you need to do is just, you can download this and you can use it to enhance your projects, submissions, all of that stuff. Now, going back into a scene file, what we can also do is optimize some of our other 3D objects. So, got, got the helmet here, and you've got all of these meshes. As you can see, they're uncompressed. So what I'm going to do is select them all and then run Draco on them. And hoping that the size goes down a little bit. Obviously, this lens file is right now is really high, so I would suggest staying under the 3 megabytes limit, because we've got all of these textures as well. So I would suggest either these are on performance, some of them you can reduce the size accordingly. Okay. Next, I'm gonna go here and then just sort of drag these head binding, and now within the collider, I can show you the physics collider options. It's pretty straightforward. So you've got the spheres, you've got again the same sort of options that are present, the box, capsule, cone, cylinder, etc. You can enable smoothing, so you can make sure that the position it follows. And then basically wherever you place, if there was, just for like, I'll show you an example, plane. So I import a plane over here, and if I rotate it, okay, I can make it into a physics collider as well and get box. You can see. And now if the ball falls, it'll stop on that plane. So, and then if I bring this down, it'll fall over there. So now if I go to the ball and if I reduce the damping, it'll be fast and slow like that. And can enable smoothing. So you have smoother transitions. And so you should get an idea of how this works. Now I'm going to go into my game, finish this off object ball, which is going to be my physics ball parent. And then I'm going to add in the collider object and sorry, drop that in over here. And what I'm going to do is, don't worry if this doesn't work, I've got a backup project opened up because this super impromptu and the project. Okay, I'm gonna open my backup project because sometimes this gives me a glitch. Just a second. I'm just gonna save this. And oh, sorry. Sorry about that. That happens, part of the process. And I'm gonna open this project. And basically, this is a slightly more complex project that I had done. It's the same mechanics. It's just that the difference is that I also added colliders on the shoulder. So obviously the game script is the same, and this will be available to you to understand and go through. What I'm going to do over here is just add the material in that we had done. And so as you can see, we'll just add the helmet in this. So like we had done earlier, we're going to make sure that it's just one head instead of two head bindings. And I'm going to drop my helmet inside that and then change this logo. textures are loading. And make sure that this is on face center. There is a head mesh, which I'm going to remove. And just to run you through everything over here, you've got the collider object, which sits on the face. So I'll increase it and move it up here so that when the ball hits, it hits on the top of the head. And what I've also done in this particular project is that I've done colliders on your shoulder. So on your left shoulder and on your right shoulder. This is so that when the ball bounces, it bounces both on the top of your head and on your shoulders. So this is good for you guys so that you can create like a game where users can basically, there's a counting script which is available. You've got like, you can keep score on how many times the user is able to bounce the ball over their head. And if they're not able to do that, the ball falls, so the score goes to 0. So you can create loads of game options like this. And there are loads of inspirational content available on the Lensless platform where you've got similar games that you can create. I hope this is helpful for all of you, and this has been informative a little bit at least, because there's so much information available. I try to keep, like make sure that you guys understand the basics as well, and also on how to use 3D objects, how to optimize them, and what are the file sizes which are optimal for your, like for creating a lens which would run smoothly on your devices. So instead, if you want, you can also, instead of the ball bouncing on the head, you can also create a lens where you're just sort of like kicking the ball. So you can have like foot tracking, which is available in the asset library. So you've got foot tracking available, so you can show like you're kicking a ball. It will also be good to go through all of the things available on the asset library. So you've got materials, you've got like fur textures, gem material, which is like the latest which has been uploaded. And you've got a bunch of scripting tools. So if you don't know how to script, you can get some APIs from here. You can get like, so you've got gesture triggers here, which recognizes heart gesture triggers. So it's really good if you go through all of this. And there's also music. So Lens Studio has a great music library. So if you want to make your project more engaging, you can add sound effects by going over here, clicking on audio, and choosing an audio track. So if you want, you can download music, or if you go onto one of the websites that I showed you earlier, you can download some sound effects for that as well. And then you've got some references which are good for hand tracking, and a bunch of tools. So yeah, it would be good to go through this, and also VFX tools. And that's it for today's session. Anyone has any questions?
Gauri, first of all, thank you for conducting this session. That was really insightful. And I hope all the participants liked it and got something insightful and something interesting out of it. So, we have actually a couple of questions. And I can see that Lakshay has answered some of them. But the remaining questions that aren't answered, we can just show them up on the screen and you can take them up. All right? Yeah. So the first question is from Eots. The question goes like, the ball was bouncing on the clicking. how to get the ball bounce at the lens based on the eyebrow gesture.
Sorry. Yeah, so again, like I said, you can do this. I'll just share my screen. You can do this using the behavior script. So you've got like all of these facial triggers. So when you go in within behavior, what you need to do is I'll open check script and add the behavior script. So if you want, you can do face event. And then if you want browse raised, then you go into the event type and click on browse raised. And then you trigger a response. So if you want, say, if you want to play sound, you can have the audio. You take your audio and drop it in over here. And then, so whenever the user raises their eyebrows, this audio will start playing. And then you can also do a script over here where if you want, so you have an option for always, once, or after intervals. So if you want, whenever the user raises their eyebrows, they'll always play this music. And then if you do, you can also loop it, and then action you can choose. So if, say, face event, and if you want them to stop after the brows are lowered, then you can do face event, brows lowered, response time, play sound. You drag in the same audio clip, and then instead of action to play, you tell it to stop. So brows raised, you play whatever, you have whatever trigger you want, whatever action. And brows lowered, you can tell it to stop the action. So that's how you do it.
Thanks for taking that up, buddy. That was insightful.
Yeah.
I hope that answers your question. Yeah, the next one is from Urban Charisma. Can you give some tips and techniques to keep the lens size below 12 MB? Now, this is a question I've seen a lot coming up. So yeah, check this out.
12 MB is really high, first of all. I was suggesting keeping your lenses to under 3 megabytes. So please make sure that your lenses are not even above 5 megabytes. So 12 is quite a lot. But let me just share my screen. What you can do is
sorry to interrupt you,
yeah.
but the prerequisite over there is that the lens needs to be below 2 MB. So that's what
Okay.
you need to.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah. So make sure that your lenses are under 2 megabytes. So in that case, 12 MB is even higher. So what you need to do is you need to optimize whatever assets you've got in Lens Studio. If they are 2D texture assets, you can optimize them using, by lowering the. It's best if I share my screen for this. Sorry. So if you've got textures, like even if this is an animated texture, you have an optimization type. You go to size, and instead of high, you click on low. What you can also do is open this texture up on Photoshop, and you can reduce the image size. And right now it's really high, so I want it to be, sorry, image size. I want it to be like really small. So I do this and I save it, and and then change the texture and re-upload it accordingly. So depending on how, like, make sure it doesn't get pixelated as well. We'll have to do it. I mean, you'll have to see, and then, sorry, and then just change the texture over here. So keep it within the kilobytes. And again, like if it's a 3D object, then you need to go down here on your resources, click on the meshes, just click them and click on Draco compression. So max you can go up to 10 to compress 3D images. 3D graphics, sorry. Yeah. Also a good place for learning how to optimize will be if you within Lens Studio, click on the size. And over here, optimizing performance, if you click on that, it redirects you to this website where you've got, like information, the documentation where you can say optimize performance and optimization for lenses. So it gives you all of the information that you require and it'll tell you best practices, everything, all of the information.
Thanks for such an elaborate explanation. I hope that answers the question. Yeah, how many AR lenses can we submit in total? So I'll take this up. There is no limit as such,
Yeah.
but as I mentioned in the beginning of the session, you need to focus on the quality of lenses rather than the quantity. So that's it. You can submit as much as you want. The next question is from Sachi Sabya. I don't have a coding background, but have good designing skills. Can I still participate in this lens?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you don't need a coding background to create lenses. You can just, if you have good design skills and if you've got like strong design aesthetics, like use the material shaders and things, you can download 3D assets, import that, and create like lenses for yourself. And use illustrations. There are loads of 2D, you can add 2D face paint and 2D, like 2D GIFs on like the face and other and create like world lenses as well. So you really don't need coding background specifically to create lenses.
Where do I get the lens ID? Sorry, can you take this up?
Okay. Sorry. Yeah, so I forgot to do the publishing bit, so I'll just quickly show that as well. Um, so once your lens is created, you put in your project info, create an icon over here. There is like information available to.
Your screen isn't visible if, in case you're sharing it.
Okay, sorry. Um, yeah, so to publish a lens, you will get the lens ID over there. After you finish all the info about your project, you click on publish lens and it'll export the lens and then it should take you to the MyLenses website. So let's just wait for this. Once you're in MyLenses, you do submit a new lens and you make sure that your lens is public. You also put in the tag which is required for the Lensathon, which is INL Lensathon. And you can add up to 8 tags. You choose a primary category and fill in all this information, create a preview, make your own preview video on Snapchat and like upload that. And once all of this information is there, you submit the lens. After you submit the lens ID will be made available to you on the My Lenses page.
Thanks, Gauri. Yeah, can you have the next question, please? I hope that answers your question, Shashank. Is there a possibility of becoming an OLC with just as designing skills, basically just a few 3D AR lenses?
Yeah, you can become. I mean, I don't really know what the process is, but like you just basically need to create a lot of lenses and submit those on Snap, and then also like make sure that you've got a good presence on your socials. But create loads of lenses, experiment with what's there, and also be really innovative. Don't just use the templates that are available and just change one element from it and upload that. Be a little innovative and just experiment.
Yeah, do we have any other questions? Yes, we do. How to integrate Blender 2.8 3D design model to Snap AR Lens Studio?
So within Blender, you can export your 3D models. You can export them as FBX file formats, OBJ, or GLTF. I think there's a GLTF option on Blender as well. I'm not sure because I don't use it as much. But those are the common 3D export options, and you can import all of these file formats within Lens Studio. So Blender files as such don't get uploaded on Lens Studio, but you whatever is within your Blender file assets, like you export them as FBXs and import them within Lens Studio.
Hope that answers your question. And thanks, Gauri, for answering these questions. Now, what I'll do is I'll quickly walk all the participants through the dashboard view of whatever they'll get after they register and how they can make the submissions accordingly. So let me just share my screen for a while. Yes. So guys, once you go onto the website and register for this Lensathon, you'll get this particular dashboard view. So from this dashboard, you'll get all the instructions and all the steps that you need to follow to make the submissions. And at the same time, here, as you can see, the submission is pending. So what you have to do is you have to submit the lens name, the URL, and the lens ID, which Gauri just showed you how to create once you publish the lens. And then you can also upload this the particular URL if the video or the lens is hosted on any of these platforms. And then you just click on submit and the submission will be made. Another thing, you can, as we mentioned, that there is no limit as such on how many lenses you submit. So you can submit as many responses as you want. But again, the thing is, prefer quality over quantity. And yeah, these are the things that you need to take care of. These are some prerequisites and some guidelines, some steps that you need to follow. And yes, this is the thing. And moreover, another thing that I would like to show you about some more details about this particular Lensathon. Yes, so now let's quickly walk through the judging criteria. So as we mentioned, the idea quality and the way you show your creativity, that matters. So that is exactly being taken care of in this particular judging criteria for this hackathon. So the idea quality, how creative and how original it is, the originality and the creativity. And moreover, the potential impact of that idea. So as to what is the engagement, how people are interacting it, how people are receiving it. So that will be taken into consideration. And how well your idea or your lens is implemented in a technology perspective. So all these things would be combined, and then the results would be announced and the leaderboard would be created, keeping in mind these particular criteria. And yes, this is the timeline that you need to take care of, as we are currently having the bootcamp series and the workshops. So the next workshop is on 26th of April, and make sure you guys join that one. It'll be a great, quite insightful one. You'll get to know more about Lens Studio and how you can create and customize your lenses according to your wish. And yes, that's basically it for this session. So guys, thank you for joining, everyone, and looking forward to your excellent submissions on this one. And Gauri, again, thank you so much for your joining. Thank you for your time, and thanks a lot for taking this session. Thank you. Great to interact with you.
Thanks, Aviraj.
Okay. All right. And guys, if you guys have any particular queries, questions, so feel free to shoot those questions and queries on the Discord group of Hack2Skill. We'll be more than happy to solve any questions or any queries that you have. Or you can contact us on our support email IDs and we'll be there to help you out. Okay. So once again, thank you for joining and have a good day. Take care. Bye-bye. Thanks, Gauri. Bye-bye.